The following podcast will contain spoilers, tangents, hot takes, and excessive foul language. Viewer discretion is advised. Enjoy the show.
Greetings, horror fans, and welcome to episode 343 of Frightmares. I'm your host, Austin Proctor, and joining me today for 2016's A Cure for Wellness is Cory Johnson.
Hey-o.
Hello. Much like we've been doing as of late, this was another movie chosen from the spinning wheel, Last Man Standing, of course, and I was very excited that this was the one we ended up on because it's something kind of like you mentioned. It's like it's a deep cut, kind of, in a way.
So I was thinking about this because I said it was a deep cut. It's more of a niche cut.
Let's go with that, yeah.
Because there's some big fucking names in this.
Correct.
And it's like two people shorter of an ensemble cast, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But most people don't know what this is just because it's an old story with a super fresh and super stylized coat of paint.
Mm-hmm.
So you get it's just weird. It fell in a time I feel like this movie was 2 years too early for itself.
Yeah, there was a review I was reading. It's like, I can't wait for all the cinephiles to appreciate this movie in 20 years, and I hard agreed with that because this movie gets quite a lot of hate, and I don't know. I have nothing. I looked at my notes before we recorded, and I was like, oh, I wrote down one thing I didn't like. I didn't even realize that until I got to the end of the movie, and then, was going through my notes this morning, and I was like, oh, okay. So I'm here to tell you how much I love this movie. But yeah, I agree. I think it came out just a little too early. It was definitely ahead of its time. And yeah, I think people will appreciate it at some point down the road. But
and we're not saying that it came out too early in the sense that it feels rushed or like it's lacking some type of production. Like the world just was not ready for this movie to come out.
It's just like Jennifer's Body in 2009. The world was not ready for a bisexual cheerleader who ate football players. They just weren't ready. Now people appreciate it, but yeah, it's the same thing with this movie. So I'm excited to talk about this. I can't remember fucking the first time I saw this movie, much like As Above, So Below that we did 2 episodes ago. It was probably something I saw, scrolling or whatever. And I remember the poster for it vividly. It's a very memorable poster. It's like all white with the little blue vial in the middle. It's very simple, but it's effective. And I always remembered seeing it. And I know the first time I watched it, I didn't like it. And then I watched it a couple years ago, I think, at least according to my Letterboxd. I'd watched it more recently. And with that rating I had, I was like, okay, clearly I enjoyed this a lot more. And then this time I liked it even more. So for me, I've liked it a little bit more every time I've watched it. And I think that's what happens a lot with movies where people will watch it, not like it, and then never revisit it. I always like giving a movie I didn't like a second chance just to see if something changes. So that's my short, brief history with it. What about you? Do you remember when you came across this one?
I remember very vividly the first time that I saw this. It was right when, it was when Redbox was still a thing.
Yeah, this comes up every now and again, and I love it.
I had rented it from Redbox, and at the time I was in a different relationship, and I remember watching it at that person's house.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if my initial view of it had been tainted from the fallout of that previous relationship. But I remember either not liking it or falling asleep during it.
Okay.
And I didn't revisit it for years.
Right.
But then I had seen something and I was like, oh, Dane DeHaan, Mia Goth, and Lucius Malfoy in this movie.
I love how you use the real names and then Lucius Malfoy.
Because I can't remember his name.
I only know him exclusively as Lucius Malfoy.
And then I was like, why the fuck didn't I like this movie? Let me find it and turn it on. And I found it streaming somewhere. And I was like, man, this is a good fucking movie. Why didn't I like this before? And then every now and again, I check back into it just because it's cinematically so satisfying. So Jessica mentioned this, except for like the final sequence, like the final hour of the movie. And even in some of the final hour, everything in this movie is almost perfectly symmetrical.
Yeah.
Like it dead center everything.
It's so nice.
Everything lines up. There's no thematic lighting. Everything is super sterilized. Like it's just one of those movies that it scratches an itch in your brain.
No, I definitely agree with that. So we will get to the review in just a moment, but before we do that, we got to do this. We got to talk about what did Jason Hill make me watch. This week he made me watch Fender Bender from 2016. In a small New Mexico town, teenager Hillary gets into her first fender bender and innocently exchanges her personal information with the other driver, a terrifying and bizarre serial killer who stalks the country road for his next victims. Killer setup, love the idea. I had seen this one previously before Jason had recommended it, but I only gave it a 3 out of 5. So I was like, let me revisit this to see, like I mentioned earlier, to see if something different works. The movie wastes no time, and I love that. It's a great cold open where you see the summary basically play out in about 5 minutes, and we get a kill in the first 5 minutes, and then boom, fender bender. Then we meet Hillary, who is, like I said, she's a teenager. She's probably in high school or something because she is having some drama with her boyfriend. Boyfriend is cheating on her. And she eventually gets into the fender bender with the guy. Then the driver does the same thing to Hillary. It's like I said, it's very simple and it's pretty unique, honestly. I like the idea. The killer's look is also so incredible. It's giving like Harry Warden energy from My Bloody Valentine, but it's not necessarily a gas mask, but it's got two like popped out eyes, and he's got these metal bars for his teeth on the mask. It's an all black mask. Killer fucking look. The score is a huge high point for me. It's very 80s and synthy. It fits perfectly with what's going on screen. I don't think the movie would have hit the same way without this specific score. And the movie also takes its time, not in a boring way. It's just some of the shots are, longer. The camera movement is slower. They're kind of creeping around this house. Helps build the atmosphere and the tension. It's got a shockingly low rating of 2.6 out of 5. Jason's rating is a 3 out of 5, and his review is, dialogue was pretty cringy in spots, but still a decent time. I bumped it from a 3 to a 3.5 because there is I can see the heart in this movie. I can see that the creators of this clearly love horror movies, and it's from the same director who did The Night Flyer, which funny enough was another Jason recommendation from 1997. His name is Mark Pavia. He's only done 3 things, but he's clearly a horror lover, and I appreciate that. So if you want to watch this, it is currently streaming on Screambox, Tubi, Pluto, and Plex. So once again, that is Fender Bender from 2016.
Jason says, check it out. You'll probably hate it.
You'll probably hate it. Although I think that's one of the higher Jason ratings.
Yeah, he's usually somewhere. Yeah, but sometimes he's up there in the 3 to 3.5, but usually it's about a 1.5 to a 2.5. So,
yeah, that's why I was like, oh, I mean, if it's a 3 from Jason, I might actually pick this one up.
Yeah, and we're usually about a half-star difference. I'm usually about a half-star higher than him. So let's talk about the highest grossing movies and Oscar winners for 2016. The highest grossing movie of the year is Captain America Civil War, $1.2 billion. And the highest grossing horror movie of the year is The Conjuring 2, $322.8 million. No surprise there. This is the 89th Academy Awards presented on Sunday, February 26, 2017, honoring movies released in 2016. Best actor goes to Casey Affleck whatever the fuck, for Manchester by the Sea, which I understand why he got the nomination. It's a beautiful film. But the fact that James McAvoy wasn't even fucking nominated for Split blows my mind. That is ridiculous to me. But still, Casey Affleck did a great job in that movie. Actor in a supporting role goes to Mahershala Ali for Moonlight. Best actress goes to Emma Stone for La La Land. Actress in a supporting role, Viola Davis for Fences. Cinematography to Linus Sandgren for La La Land. Director Damien Chazelle for La La Land. And musical score, Justin Hurwitz for La La Land. But the best picture goes to Moonlight, which I have seen twice previously, and it wasn't streaming anywhere, so I just didn't watch it because I saw this last year. I remembered enough to talk about it. The summary is a young African-American man grapples with his identity and sexuality while experiencing the everyday struggles of childhood, adolescence, and burgeoning adulthood. So it's truly like a beautiful story told about a man in 3 different chapters of his life. It is split up into 3 different chapters, the first one being called Little, where we're introduced to Sharon, who is the main character, constantly bullied by kids, and he comes across a guy named Juan, who essentially takes him in. Sharon also has this abusive mother who smokes crack, and life is really tough for him. His mother also calls Sharon the F slur, saying that kids bully him for the way he walks. Top-notch mom. Great mom. But then you have Juan, on the other hand, who's kind of his mentor, but he's also selling crack at the same time. So this kid's in a very, very bizarre situation in his life.
And did you mention that this is all on a backdrop of like, maybe not late 70s, but like early 80s into modern day Miami?
Yeah, so yeah, you're watching him grow up into like the present time. So it is over probably about 3 decades.
The Miami backdrop is its own character of this movie.
Yeah, if you've been to Miami, you understand. The next chapter is called Sharon, where we see him as a teenager, still getting bullied and avoiding them as much as he can. His only friend since basically he was a kid betrays him in high school in a very public way. He just can't seem to catch a break because, you know, he comes from a broken home. He's struggling with his sexuality. He doesn't really make a lot of friends. It's a hard life for this fucking kid, and your heart goes out to him. And then finally, the last chapter is called Black, where we see Sharon as an adult. Mother's trying to do better. Now he's dealing drugs. Someone from his past comes back into his life. It's an incredibly raw story, but it's so real. Another movie which makes me violently angry on behalf of someone and the way they're treated just because they are deemed different by society. But it is very powerful and gives you hope by showing you that people can change. Rating of a 4.2 out of 5. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I feel like the only thing I'm really missing from this movie is being able to relate to the situation. I can understand the situation, but being a straight white man, it is hard for me to actually relate. And I also, I don't come from a broken home. So I think that that's really the only thing I'm missing is just that extra level of connection. But it's still a beautiful movie. I haven't reviewed this because I didn't start really reviewing movies until this year. But it would be something along the lines of, fuck bigotry, don't be a piece of shit. Like I said, it's not streaming anywhere, but just like previous movies that haven't been streaming that we've talked about recently, just buy this movie. You won't be disappointed with it. So that
I would very much agree with this. Plus, like, it is gorgeous.
Oh, it's cinematically beautiful. Like, I can't believe that. I understand La La Land getting the cinematography, but like this movie was just fucking, like, from the lighting to the color, it's beautiful. It is extremely well done.
Moonlight is color themes, the movie.
Yeah, it is. It's so beautiful to look at. So definitely check Moonlight out. Let's do this IMDb roundup and get on to the movie at hand. Bam! This is A Cure for Wellness from 2016, actually released on February 17th, 2017 in the US. It is rated R for disturbing violent content and images, sexual content, including assault, graphic nudity, and language. A lot of words there. I'm surprised this is moderate sex and nudity because there's a There's a lot of naked people in this. I cannot believe it's not severe. Severe violence and gore, moderate profanity, mild alcohol, drugs, and smoking, and severe frightening and intense scenes. Coming in at 2 hours and 26 minutes. Listed as a don't break your neck here on this. Drama, fantasy, horror, mystery, sci-fi, thriller. Blah, blah, blah. That is a lot of genres.
Or if you watch it on Amazon, it's listed as suspense horror.
That's it. Directed by Gore Verbinski, who also directed The Ring, Pirates of the Caribbean 1 through 3, and Rango. He also has a brand new movie coming out this year called Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die, which is actually his first movie since A Cure for Wellness. So it's been 9 years since we've gotten a movie from him. Also written by Gore Verbinski. He's only written 3 things, but he did write Rango. Then we have Justin Haith, who only has 8 writing credits, but also did Red Sparrow. Composed by Benjamin Wallfish, who composed Lights Out, Annabelle Creation, and It from 2017. Cinematography by Bojan Bazelli, who also did the cinematography for Pumpkinhead, The Ring, and Underwater. Edited by 2 people, the first of which being Pete Baudru, who also edited 6 episodes of the TV miniseries Maniac. And then we have Lance Pereira, who also edited Coherent, a wildly underappreciated sci-fi, with the guy who plays Xander in Buffy. Starring Dane DeHaan as Lockhart. He was also in Chronicle as Andrew Detmer. We've got Jason Isaacs as Voldemort, who was also in several Harry Potter movies as Lucius Malfoy. Mia Goth as Hannah, who most people would probably know from the X trilogy as Maxine Minx and Pearl. We've got Ivo Nandi as Enrico, who primarily does TV work, but was also in Venom, The Last Dance as Javier. Celia Emery as Victoria Watkins, who was also in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein as Mrs. Moritz. And then we have Harry Groner as Pembroke, who also primarily does work in TV, but he was in Oppenheimer as Senator McGee. This movie fucking bombed. Estimated budget of $40 million, only grossing $26.6 million. It was filmed in various cities around Germany that I cannot and will not try to pronounce. You can watch this on Cinemax if you have a subscription. Movies that came out around the same time, we have Return to Nukem High Volume 2, Split, Triple X, Return of Xander Cage, A Dog's Purpose, Resident Evil, The Final Chapter, Rings, funny enough, 50 Shades of Grey, John Wick Chapter 2, the Lego Batman movie, Get Out, Logan, Kong Skull Island, Beauty and the Beast, and the Belko Experiment. What a time to be alive. IMDb summary: a stockbroker unravels the terrifying secrets of a mysterious Swiss spa where guests never leave. This is A Cure for Wellness.
Are you ready, Mr. Lockhart? Then let us begin.
So, Corey, overall thoughts on A Cure for Wellness?
Like I said up top, we as a society was just not ready for this movie. Why we weren't ready for it, I don't know. There's just something about it that this is an artsy fartsy version of Shutter Island.
Right.
And because it's done in such an artistic way, and I feel like the emphasis was put more on the development of what was going on. Like, not saying that any of the actors did a bad job. They all are doing exactly what they need to be doing, but it's less of the characters and more of the story. Like, the characters are just driving the story. You could pretty much insert any character into whatever.
Yeah.
And it still kind of works. Like, I don't necessarily care about the motivations of what's going on, except for the big bad.
Right.
You take away that, the movie falls apart. But it's a very it's hard. It's hard to like pin down my overall thoughts because there's so much going on, while at the same so little going on.
Fair enough.
Because half the movie is Dane DeHaan walking around places that he's not supposed to be.
Volmore's like, here you are again in a spot you shouldn't be. What the hell? My overall thoughts are this is a masterfully made movie, from the story to the camera work and even to the acting. It's damn near art house at certain points, and I was captivated the entire time, which for me is not an easy feat when it comes to movies that are over 2 hours. And I mean, this is basically 2.5 hours. So for something to keep my attention for that long is, I don't know. I have a short attention span with the ADHD. It's why I don't like very long movies. So again, to have me looking dead at the screen for that long is impressive, to me at least.
It's because the pacing is insanely good.
Yeah.
They give you pieces like at exactly the right time. The minute my eyes started drifting away, it was like, boom, right here. Here's another thing for you. And it's like, all right, thank you.
It's just like, what's his face from Family Guy? He's like, ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy.
Yeah, James Woods.
James Woods is the same thing. So let's talk about that opening scene because, you get this just opening shots of just beautiful angelic singing with this downtown area. 10 out of 10 on just that alone. But then you focus in on the salesman of the year, Bill Morris, who has a fucking heart attack and dies at the office. And then the title card pops up kind of like behind the computers, and it's like such a subtly, I don't know, I love the title card.
If the heart attack didn't kill him, the head trauma from bashing his head into that water cooler definitely killed him, because that water thing was full.
Yeah.
And those start off at like 50 pounds.
I was going to say probably about 50 pounds.
When he fell, Jessica looked at the screen and said, how hard did he fall to knock that over?
Yeah, with his head. It's not like he got thrown into it. So opening scene is very simple. It's very quick. You kind of wonder, what the fuck does this have to do with anything? But of course they all explain it. So let's talk about what worked. You focus in on Lockhart, who is heading somewhere, very clearly dressed as a businessman. And I love the worker of the train because he looks at him after grabbing his ticket and he's like, business or pleasure? And he's very annoyed, like, really? Like, what do you think, guy? I'm in a suit. I'm on a laptop. I'm talking to someone about business. So I thought that was just funny. And that's probably about the only really funny part of the movie that was intentionally supposed to be funny, because everything else is pretty fucking straightforward, in my opinion. So the setup is very solid. I think it's a very good base for what's to come later, because the company has dirt on Lockhart, which they don't really reveal, but it's a no-no what he did. It's enough to imply to the audience the severity of what he's done. So they're basically blackmailing him to go retrieve Pembroke, who was the CEO, who retired, I guess. He sent a letter saying, don't contact me. He went away to this spa for a vacation, and he's like, I'm never coming back. So everyone thinks he's lost his mind, but they need him to sign these documents for a merger between this company and another. So I like that setup. It's a very quick setup. I think by about 15 minutes, he's already on his way to Switzerland around that time. So the rest of, like 2 hours and 10 minutes is spent at this location. So for the setup for you, is that something that kind of drew you in right away? Not necessarily hooking you, but was that enough to be like, okay, I'm interested in what this has to offer?
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, and like I told you when I started it, I completely misremembered how this movie started. I thought it was much more period piece-y.
Yeah.
So it was almost like a, oh, I misremembered this, so I definitely need to pay attention.
Yeah.
And as it's going, you're just like, oh wow, everybody fucking sucks. Like all of these people, I hope everything bad happens to all of you. And then the movie keeps going and you're like, oh, okay, it's not totally your fault. Like you've been dealt a kind of bad hand over the years. So let's let this keep going.
And that's what I love about Lockhart's character development, because it's very strong. You don't get all the pieces. Just like you said earlier, you don't get everything at once. It gives you pieces. And his, background is kind of explained through, I'd say, the second-ish act for the most part. But, his mother is in a senior living center. His father jumped off a bridge while Lockhart was in the car watching him. And he learns that Pembroke actually knew his father. And it's kind of implied that what the company did to him led him to kill himself. At least that's the impression that I got, because Pembroke says at one point, what we did to him was terrible. He was a good man. So that's kind of what I assume from the situation.
Yeah, I got that what they're doing to Lockhart is essentially the same thing they did to his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like a side of the same coin. So the same thing's happening to Lockhart, where on the other end of the story, the people that are doing the thing in Switzerland, they've always been doing.
Right.
So the people in the stock exchange are always doing the same thing they've been doing.
Right.
So it's a real nice mirror, but at the same time, it's the exact opposite of what's going on. Something is changing and they're just recycling fall people versus nothing's changing and it's the same people doing the same shit. So it's a real nice matchup that they're doing.
Well, you could also draw a conclusion that it's entirely possible, if Pembroke knew him and worked at the company, this situation may have arose before, where let's just say Lockhart's dad went to Switzerland, saw what they were doing, but didn't sign the fucking paper, so he didn't get stuck there. Saw what they were doing and couldn't live with the fact that he knew what they were doing and then killed himself. And then Lockhart doesn't know any of this, so he's doomed to repeat that same cycle, just like the people in Switzerland are doomed to repeat their same cycle, because the guy who's hiding all of this, he's going to fall back into the same trap because he's trying to bury the past while still continuing to do exactly what he was doing before. So it's a very good balance there. But with the world building that goes into this, it's deep. It is deeper than the well in the fucking Ring, because you get a great lore dump of kind of the backstory about the the grounds and the castle. There's the von Reichmerls, which is funny because von Reichmerl, Volmer is kind of, you kind of make, it's not that close, but it's close enough where it's like, I should have made that assumption. He might've been the same guy, but the driver goes on to say that the Baron was obsessed with his bloodline. He decided that only his sister was clean enough to carry his child. The church forbade the union, so he renounced God, and then on his wedding night, the villagers came up the hill, chased the Baron and his bride into the catacombs, and had him watch as they burned her alive. Then they burned the whole place to the ground, and this all took place 200 years ago. So that's the first dump you get of information. Of course, later on, the story kind of twists and changes, and by the time you get to that point in the movie, you're like, okay, is Lockhart just hallucinating all of this? Because what Volmer said, that with some of the stuff that they're giving him can cause hallucinations. So when you get to the end, you're like, I don't know if this is actually true, because he might just be crazy making all of this shit up in his head. But then you get the reveal of it actually being true, and it's just fucking crazy. So when you first watched this, I vividly remember the twist being that he was crazy the whole time. And then when I watched it this time, I was like, well, is he crazy? I mean, he is he? Like, I don't.
And see, I remember, I very vividly remembered the twist because it stuck with me so hard. I was like, okay, that makes sense as to why everything is set up the way it is set up.
Yeah.
Because without that twist, the rest of the movie honestly almost doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
Like, you almost have to have that twist for the justification of everything else going on. Or like you said, Lockhart's just a fucking insane person.
He's just a nut. Like
Now, see, I remembered certain things, like when Lockhart cut off his cast.
I remember that too.
I thought that happened way earlier.
Yeah, same.
I was like, damn, he has been in this cast for like an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's not until halfway through like the third act that he finally cuts it off and stands on it, and I was like, that was probably never broken to begin with. They probably just put you in that to make you less mobile, even though he gets around. God, on those fucking crutches he gets around. But yeah, that happened so far towards the end of the movie. I thought that was cut off much earlier, and he was just running around the hospital or the sanatorium, whatever the fuck you want to call it. So it definitely plays with your mind because there's multiple paths you can take with the movie. You can go down the path that, oh, all of this is true and he's finding what's actually going on. It's entirely possible that he's crazy because everyone there seems way too hunky-dory with what's going on, except for Mrs. Watkins. She's the only one that seems to be putting the pieces together, kind of like Lockhart, and they have a lot of dialogue between each other, but everyone's too happy to be in a place where something nefarious is going on.
But toward the end, it's revealed to make you think, but I am of the mindset that it was just kind of a luck out that they did. So they set Miss Watkins up to be an unreliable source of information. She's the Institute's local conspiracy theorist, and yada yada. But then Lockhart has an interaction with her where earlier in the movie they're like, oh, what's a 10-letter word for whatever, and he goes absolution. She's doing a crossword puzzle. But then it's revealed that she's not actually doing a crossword puzzle. She is making her own crossword puzzles.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Putting them out. So then you're like, wait, is the information that she has actually information, or is she somehow being set up with the Institute to feed Lockhart this information to make him think he's crazy, because this is gaslighting the movie?
Oh my God. And your point is 100% reinforced when when one of the the people that work there, the techs, I don't know what the fuck they're called, spa assistants, they come up to Mrs. Lockhart and they're like, hey, it's time for your hydrotherapy or whatever. And she says, oh, I thought I already did that this morning. Are you sure? And he's like, I've got you on the schedule. So it's made clear that she might not even remember her own schedule, and her eyes have these bags under them. She looks very tired and worn out. So yeah, it's entirely, you're like, maybe she's just a crazy old, batshit lady. Who knows? I think this movie does a great job at kind of leading you down almost like two separate paths, because on one point I'm like, all right, this is definitely real, this is a conspiracy, and then on the other side I'm like, maybe he's just crazy. I kept flip-flopping back and forth because I couldn't remember the twist, and then I got it. And
is Hannah real? What's going on?
Is she a fucking ghost? Like, what is happening in this fucking movie? So later on, you get more development. I can't remember who this is from, but you find out that the Baroness was actually sick, and the Baron was looking for a cure to cure this sickness. But the sickness, quote unquote, is that she was infertile. So she could not bear the children that the Baron was trying to have with her. They said that her body was rejecting the fetuses because they were deformed. So you get a little bit more of that plot where you're like, wow, the Baron is truly fucked up. Not only is he in love with his sister trying to have a baby, he's apparently tried multiple times and her body is just like, no, not fucking happening. So definitely gross for sure. Not a fan of the whole incest thing, but I mean, like, it just makes the story that much more fucked up, in my opinion. Like,
yeah, it really does.
How can we take this already crazy story and just dial it up even more? So then it goes even further when Mrs. Watkins tells Lockhart that the night the Baroness was burned, she was pregnant. The villager cut out the fetus and threw it in the aquifer, but the child survived. And then she goes on to say she doesn't know. Who is the she in question? Why is Mrs. Watkins saying she doesn't know, like this person is still alive? But again, is Mrs. Watkins crazy, or is this actual information that we're getting, which is valid?
Well, and not only that, but when Mrs. Watkins is first introduced, she's in that group of 3 people.
Yes.
And you see her with those 2 other people through most of the movie. But when she is allowed via the story to start passing on this information, she is now not allowed to be part of that group, and she's sitting alone.
Yes.
And she is then excised from that small group that she's already in. So then you're like, okay, but why aren't they hanging out with her anymore? What's going on?
Yeah, the plot just thickens and thickens the entire 2 hour and 26 minutes. So
this movie is an absolute masterclass in the ladder of escalation.
Right.
Like they start you off and you're like, okay, this is a bad situation. And then they give you more information. You're like, oh, this situation's getting way worse. And it is so clearly defined at how much worse the situation gets over the movie. And then you get twist number 1 and you're like, oh shit, this is really bad. And then you get that final twist in the aquifer and you're like, oh shit, this is really bad.
Like, how can they possibly keep dialing this shit up? It's incredible.
And then they do.
Yeah. And then once you get to the end and get that reveal, not only is it almost fucking cartoonish, but they just commit to the bit. They commit to the bit so well. I'm like, I respect the fuck out of this. I absolutely respect the hell out of it. But my question to you, since we're right at the point where we find out that the baby was thrown into the aquifer. Volmore says at one point that the water is toxic unless it's purified. So how the fuck did that baby survive?
Okay. So I have been trying to work this out in my brain since the credits rolled yesterday.
It's like my only real not even dislike, but kind of plot point it's not working.
So I think it has something to do with we know it has something to do with the eels.
Yeah.
But
eels.
what I'm thinking is that because of the baby being an actual baby,
right?
It seems like that the only people that get fed to the eels are older people, or people that have started to have the process done to them. And I think that feeding the eels is what gets the small eels that they then collect. But there may not have been smaller eels to begin with.
True.
So maybe some of the eels got into the baby and then the whole process started. But because it was the very first process, that's why it doesn't do anything to the baby. It's like the baby is the initial catalyst.
Yeah, and I also was just thinking now that if, like they said, the villagers cut out the baby, I don't know if it's possible, I don't know that much about giving birth, but if they cut out the baby and somehow kept the placenta intact around the baby, then that would absolutely protect the kid in the water. But it's also revealed, since let's just kind of go towards the ending and then we'll circle back, it's revealed that the Baron did not die, and it's possible that he went down there quickly and retrieved the baby out of the water. So there are possibilities, but they don't actually tell you what happened. So
now it could also be because as he's walking around the aquifer, he sees the whole lab.
Right.
And you see what I am going to assume is all of the previous deformed babies from the Baroness in the jars.
Yeah.
So there could be some sense that maybe the baby isn't the actual baby. There might be some extra level of experimentation that had gone on to her. Maybe she died and was brought back by the eels.
Oh, that's entirely possible.
Which is why it took 200 years for her to mature. That's why she's not allowed to go back into the water, because I think her interaction with the eels in the first place is what kind of froze her in time. And then when she gets back into the pool, she then has her menstruation that causes her to age up, and all the eels circle around her and start nipping at her. She starts bleeding, and they all back out into a circle,
right,
like she is the mother eel or something.
Some shit, yeah.
I think they wrote themselves into a corner, and instead of yada-yadaing through it, they were just like, we're just not going to explain this part.
That's fine, because, they explain so much else.
Any information we add on to this is just going to make it a weak point.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So it is revealed at the end of the movie, because it is a twist, but I guess it's more of you're like oh shit, this is the same guy, that Volmore is actually the I guess immortal at this point, Swiss Baron and mad scientist who was supposedly executed 200 years prior. So he has been alive this entire time, feeding, which is his daughter, Mia Goth, or Hannah, the vitamins that they say out of the little glass jars, which is the purified cure for wellness, essentially. We'll just leave it at that.
And also fun fact, them using, at least I'm going to say it's fun fact. I have no actual basis for what I'm about to say, but I truly believe it. The reason they're calling it vitamins is it's a play on word for vitriol, which, going back to As Above, So Below, was the potion for immortality with the Philosopher's Stone. So instead of they can't call it vitriol, the life potion, so they call it vitamins. They just keep the first three words. That's my headcanon. Anyway.
I love that. So, of course, Hannah doesn't know that the Volmare is her dad, because she tells Lockhart at one point, my mother died in a fire. And that's the first instance where I'm like, well, that's clearly the Baroness's daughter. But wait, that was 200 years ago. That's not possible. And she's like, my father will come for me when it is, when I'm ready. And basically that means Volmare, her dad, will come for her when she has hit the ripe age of maturity, whenever she has had her first period, which is gross on many accounts, because not only was he fucking his sister, but he's waiting to have sex with his daughter, who has just hit puberty, which is typically around 13, 14, double fucking ew. Not a fan of that, or not a fan of that at all. So it's it's and you have the situation of him having sex with his sister, which we already said was dialed up. Like, how can we fuck the situation up even more? And then you get the reveal that he's trying to have sex with his daughter, and you're like, there's no way it can get worse than that. And it doesn't. But it's just like, how do they manage to make the most fucked up situation more fucked up twice? Crazy shit.
Well, and I also think an additional fucked up layer, and I'm only going off this based off of the ending sequence where the fire's happening.
Yeah.
I think a few of the key staff in the Institute are part of the Baron's original court.
Oh, absolutely.
I think he kept a few of them around, because you see everybody running out of the building when it's on fire, and you see that one guy, the director.
Yep.
And he's just looking around like, oh my God, it's happening again. They're burning the place down again. And one or two of the nurses are also standing around looking around. So I think half of these people are part of the Baron's original court. So it's not just the Baron. There's a whole court of people doing this shit.
And you even have some people that are trying to, I love the people that were trying to throw buckets of water on the fire. It's not going to happen, buddy. It's way too late. So here's my question, right? You get to the very end of the movie, and at this point, Lockhart has pulled out a tooth. He's had a tooth drilled out. But the final scene of the movie with him and Hannah flying down the mountain, when he smiles, all of his teeth are there. It's a very...
No. So they replace his tooth.
Oh, did they?
So remember, there's that whole sequence where he goes down into the one fucking room and he sees all those people floating in the water boxes.
Yeah.
not the iron lung ones, but where they're like on display.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And then they drill into his tooth, things start happening, and he starts writing that letter, and you see him floating in there as well.
Right.
I think that is like a rejuvenation bath. So they put them in there so they can take them out, suck their life force, put them back in, and cycle it through over and over
until they're drained of all their life.
Exactly. So I think him being put in that replaced his teeth, because if you also notice, none of his other injuries are there afterwards as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I didn't rewind it because I didn't have time, but I just remember seeing all his teeth at the end, and I was like, wait, were those there a second ago when he was talking to the people, the corporate suits that were trying to rescue him from the whole situation? So I couldn't remember, but okay.
Yeah, because he gets all his teeth back in the scene prior to that.
Damn, okay.
Where he's sitting on the bench looking out at the Alps, and Mia Goth comes out and sits with him and hands him back the sleeping ballerina and says, okay. she's awake
now. Yeah.
And then he smiles and go, why would anyone want to leave? And his tooth is back. And that's how you know he's been semi body snatched.
Damn it. I was going to try to go back and rewind it. But yeah, what's crazy too, speaking kind of on that, is the whole cyclical nature of everything. We've already talked about how history is doomed to repeat itself. The people that are at the spa are in this endless cycle of having the life sucked out of them. I don't know what it is with Gore Verbinski and fucking rings, but man, he's a fan of rings and circles. So.
The other fun thematic element of it is we're given all this information and we know how the cycle happens, but the only cycle we don't know how it happens, because we genuinely don't know how it happens in real life, is where the fucking eels come from. Yeah. Because it's one of the greatest scientific mysteries is we don't know how eels are born, in real life. Whoa. A bunch of eels swim out into the ocean from freshwater, and then all the babies swim back into the rivers and shit. Like that's an actual scientific mystery people are trying to figure out now.
Interesting.
So you get all of this like old world, we know how this happened, except for the eels. I think that's a really cool, and I think that's why Gore Verbinski might have used the eels, because at the end of the day, no matter what, that part will always be a mystery.
I like that a lot. Yeah, so there is a lot to digest with this movie, but I don't think it's palatable. I don't think
it's not dense.
Right. Like it's easy to understand.
All of the information makes sense. It's not like, oh, here's all this lore that is just there to pad out the runtime.
Right.
All of this lore deeply matters.
Deeply matters.
Deeply matters.
Yeah, deeper than the fucking sensory deprivation tank that Lockhart was in. If someone was like, we're gonna put you into a sensory dep machine, and it was that fucking cistern, no thanks. They should be like 3 or 4 feet off the ground. It should be like a little above ground pool, and it shouldn't be locked on top. Absolutely not. I'm good there.
Or be like the ones in Baldwin Park, and it's just like pods. Yeah. It's not like an actual tank that you get in.
That's like a big tank you'd see on a farm you put grains in. It's fucking huge.
Yeah, it's like a silo.
There we go, a silo, not a cistern. Yes. Couple other things I wanted to mention, not about the story, because I think we pretty much we covered as much as we can. The score, I think, is absolutely beautiful. It is one of the most truly hauntingly beautiful, especially the main overarching theme that Hannah hums, that is part of Lockhart's mom's ballerina figurine. It's beautiful. Even though this movie has the Swiss Alps as a background, it was technically shot in Germany, but nonetheless, for the sake of the movie,
the Swiss Alps butt up against Germany.
Well, in the trivia, it's noted that the mountains are CG.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, but yeah, no, the Swiss Alps back up to Germany because Hitler had a castle in the Alps, and he would just go from there to Germany like all the time.
Fun fact, the sanatorium that the actual exterior shots was a previous hospital where Adolf Hitler was I'm not a member, patient at one point. That was in the
interesting.
That was in the trivia. So yeah, the backdrop is beautiful. It's stunning. It just goes to show you how impactful a location can be in a movie. And then cinematically, I mean, you could pause this movie at any fucking point and just take a screenshot and put it on the wall. Every single shot and frame is a masterful work of art. It is gorgeous to look at.
My favorite camera shot is about halfway through, and it's right as shit is starting to go a little bit wonky, and you get this super, super wide shot of Lockhart and Hannah on opposite ends of the screen, mirrored by the water under them.
Yeah.
And it's just this crazy, I can't even fully describe it.
You have to watch it.
It's such a masterful. And then right after that, you get this wide pullout shot with like a rotation where the sun kind of moves behind the castle. And it's this like absolute piece of art.
Yep, 100%. Totally agree there. This movie is it's just masterful. Like I said, I only had one thing that really didn't work for me outside of the whole eel thing. That was more of just kind of a plot point that they didn't explain. So really the only thing that didn't work for me, according to what I wrote down, is how Lockhart just signs a random fucking piece of paper without looking at it. Bro, that is not how it's like, please sign in. You didn't notice the like insane amount of text. It didn't say like sign in sheet. There was a whole page of text that you just signed away to, and I was like, well, you're fucked at this point.
So I'm gonna say something that I think might change your opinion on this.
Okay.
So the whole reason that he's going to get Pembroke is not so he can sign some things to make the merger happen. That's just a ploy.
Right.
They're bringing Pembroke back so he can be the fall guy for
I forgot to mention
Lockhart's transgressions with the SEC.
That's right.
So if Lockhart is being investigated for frauds with the SEC, of course, he's just going to sign what the fuck ever.
Right.
Because he'll sign what the fuck ever just to get the money rolling in.
Fair.
So he thinks he is smart enough to not have to read whatever because he's the one making his company money. And he's the big shot.
His ambition is brought up multiple times in the movie as well.
Exactly.
Was there anything for you that didn't specifically work other than the eels? Or not the eels, other than the whole baby thing?
Not necessarily. This is going to be sort of a hot take for me.
Okay.
I am not the hugest Mia Goth fan,
That's
not
fair.
because she is not a good actor, but because she's so fucking weird looking.
Okay.
And like, this is going to sound really fucked up, but she is the perfect person to be cast for a incestuous German Reich.
Yeah, I mean, German Reich. It is a German Reich at the end of the day. Jesus Christ. Okay, so since that's perfect because the hot takes are next, I have two because apparently like this, I've seen the reviews. This movie is not liked. This movie's a fucking masterpiece in my opinion. I think this is truly one of the greater movies within the last 10 years. I love every aspect of this movie. And then my second hot take, I don't know if it's a hot take. I guess it is for me, but I would gladly have taken like a 3-hour cut of this movie any day. Any fucking day. If Gore Verbinski was like, I have an extended director's cut, done, sold, don't care. So those are mine.
I do have one other headcanon hot take.
Okay. Oh, a headcanon hot take. Oh, okay.
So because the director and cinematographer both worked on The Ring, it is almost blatantly insulting how much some of this camera work and some of the filtering looks like The Ring.
Yeah.
My hot take / headcanon is this is the universe in which The Ring video is shot.
Okay. I like that.
So all that creepy shit that happens to Samara's mother to have Samara be born the way she is because she was part of the Institute at some point.
I mean, the parallels between circles, rings, water, a mother who died. Well, she killed herself. She killed her daughter and then killed herself. But the parallels are there 100%.
Yeah.
And again, same director. So I'm with you on
same
that
director
one.
and same cinematographer.
So Hooked for me, this is very hard to pinpoint because of how much of a slow fucking burn this movie is, pun intended. But I would say the actual moment where I'm like, shit is about to get really twisted here is when Lockhart wakes up after the accident and he, in the sanitarium 3 days later with a cast on his leg. And then to pull me in even further, it's when Lockhart makes his way down the hill, makes that call from the bar to New York, and the people at his office were like, no one ever called saying what was happening. And I was like, okay. So it was like hooked in with that, and then they reeled me the fuck in with those two moments. So what about you? Was there a specific moment?
So my specific moment that like really dug its hooks in and like got me on the line, like you said, like I was in the movie from jump.
Yeah.
But the point that I was like, ooh, was literally the scene right before he makes that phone call to New York, where he's talking to Pieter, and he's like, well, there's dental records in there too. What do those mean? And he goes, well, it's a sign of severe dehydration. And Lockhart goes, dehydration? What do you mean? All they do is drink water. And I'm like, okay.
Leans into screen with hands on knees. Okay. Yeah, that's a good one too. He's like, what do you mean dehydrated? Okay, Lost. I'm assuming you're never lost. Like, I'm never lost. Horror moment for me is, there's plenty of them, but for me, it's when Lockhart goes looking for Pembroke in the steam bath and seems to go through these endless kind of, for lack of a better term, we'll just say corridors. And he goes through doorway after doorway after doorway until he gets to one room where he looks left and looks right and there's no doors. Then he flips around and realizes the door behind him, or the walkway behind him, is gone. I was like, absolutely not. So that again kind of weighs into, is he hallucinating, or because there's no way that was real. So that's my horror moment. Fuck that wholeheartedly. It looks like the back room's down there. I'm good. So what about you then for horror moment?
I think my horror moment might have to be the sensory deprivation tank.
That's a good one.
Just because you get that first eel slithering around, and then all of a sudden the entire bottom is just infested.
Oh, that's a great way
with these eels, and it's like, ugh, it's so yuck.
It's very yucky, and then he can't get out, of course. Favorite kill, there's really only one. Well, I guess there's two, because they kill the guy who only speaks German. But I mean, it's got to be Volmar, because he gets a shovel to the fucking head. That is so amazing. Unless yours differs from mine, please tell me.
No, no, it's not, because right as that thunk happened, I looked at Jessica and go, and that's why they call it a shovel blade.
Yeah, he gets fucked up with that shovel. Favorite character for me is Hannah. I just feel so bad for this poor girl who's lived not countless, but hundreds of years, only to be, to have her father try and rape her. It's fucked up. What about you? Did you have a favorite character?
I do, and this kind of goes against the grain of my normal favorite characters.
Ooh.
But Volmar is my favorite character. He is such a good villain without, through most of the movie, doing villainous things. Like, he's doing wrong shit.
Right.
But he, up until like that ending sequence, he never does anything evil. It's just alluded to that he is evil. And he plays it so fucking well that there was a point in time where I was like, is he actually an evil 200-year-old German man? Like this, he's playing this way too well. Like Lucius Malfoy ain't got nothing on this man.
Oh, dude, his range in this movie is insane because you're right. The entire time, well, until like the third act, yeah, he's very calm. He's he's lived 200 years or more than 200 years. So I assume he's gotten it under control, at least his how he presents himself. So definitely agree with that. Like an insane villain. Love it.
I had to look him up on IMDb because I was like, man, what the fuck did they do to Michael Fassbender?
Love it. Least favorite character. It's the guy who I can't remember. When Lockhart goes to make the call, or he goes down with the records and goes like that police guy, and then it's found out that he's working with them. I was like, you bitch, you fucking son of a fucking motherfucker. So he's my least favorite character. What about you?
I can't remember her name, but the one woman CEO.
Oh, that's a perfect segue into my favorite line, because my favorite line is from her when she goes, "You ever have a 12-inch dick in your ass?"
I'm talking prison. Coming from a late, like, wow, that was so out of fucking left field. I did not expect that. Did you have a favorite line? No, not really. Just because, like, my favorite lines tend to be something that sticks out that isn't necessarily something that is important to the movie. Normally it's like a one-liner, a quip, or some type of joke. But the dialogue in this movie is so subtextually important to what's going on that nothing stood out to me because I had to focus on everything.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Random thoughts I had, real quick. Compliance would have a field day at Bill's office since no one locks their computer once they leave for the day. Dying alone at my job of a heart attack is quite literally my nightmare. Smoking a cigarette in the car and not rolling down the windows is diabolical. What is it with Gore Verbinski and deers hitting cars? I cannot stand the way Lockhart drinks his water, and Mia Goth's actual voice is fucking precious. That's all I had for random thoughts. If I reviewed horror movies instead of shamelessly plugging my own podcast on Letterboxd, it would be, imagine doing all of this investigative work with a fucking full leg cast. I am so good. I would rather just sit in bed all day. Anything else you wanted to highlight before we wrap up here?
Just like I said up top, this is a fantastic movie. I highly recommend anyone go watch it. Even though we've spoiled it, the lead up to how they get there is so exciting.
It really is.
Because sometimes in a movie you get a reveal and you're like, okay, well, it's kind of insulting on how you revealed that to me because I'm not dumb. You didn't have to reveal it in this way, but they give it to you in such a way that you're like, that's what it is?
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it's either going to work for you or it's not. And I think that's why the ratings are very split. So
also, Dane DeHaan is a very bizarro looking person.
He is.
He looks like somebody did a silly putty newspaper version of 1998 Leo DiCaprio.
Golly. He's got a very strange face. I can absolutely agree with that. So I love ending it on silly putty squish face. So let's do that. Post review stuff here. Taglines. All of us are human. None of us are immune. And there is a cure. Kind of mid there. Trivia. Originally, Hans Zimmer was attached to compose the music for this film, but dropped out to focus on Dunkirk and was replaced by Benjamin Wallfisch. I think Hans Zimmer would have crushed it, but we wouldn't have got what we got. So
yeah, I think it would have been overly cinematic if it was Hans.
Yeah,
because don't get me wrong, I love Hans.
Yeah, but
he tends to make things a little too grandiose sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. No, I agree. So I'm kind of glad that happened. The films in the grotto were planned to be shot in Vienna, but the shooting was canceled shortly before the start. The film studio in Babelsberg, therefore, had to build an entire grotto of 2,000 square meters on their own. 52 minutes in, a ring reflection is visible in the water tank as the lid closes. It resembles the signature image from The Well in The Ring 2002, obviously made by Gore Verbinski. And this was Mia Goth's first horror movie. Goofs. I love a petty goof here. When looking at the dental x-ray as allegedly a Pembroke, one is from a 12-year-old with severe dental problems and not a 60-year-old man. Baby teeth are present, and the adult teeth due to come through are visible. So that's funny. The protagonist is either an attorney or some savvy business executive, not entirely made clear. Either way, he wouldn't have signed the form without giving that he was given at the front desk without carefully reading it first. And a plaster of Paris cast does not tolerate being wet and would disintegrate when placed in the sensory deprivation tank. Rated 6.4 out of 10 on IMDb, 3.1 out of 5 on Letterboxd, and an equal 42% on the tomato meter and audience score. What did you give this, Corey?
I gave it a 4.
I gave it a 4.5, raised from a 4. So that is a Frightmare certified slap. Similar movies according to Letterboxd, we have Shutter Island, Session 9, Cuckoo, Barbarian, and the 2024 Nosferatu. Similar movies according to IMDb, we have Marrowbone, Infinity Pool, Run, Suspiria, and Pearl. Apparently 4 out of 5 movies featuring Mia Goth. Let's do some funny reviews and get the hell out of here. I've got my standard 5, so...
I also have 5.
Boom, you can go first then.
This one isn't super funny, but it's from our boy Eric Cloud.
Oh, shit. Long time since we've mentioned that name.
So, a 2.5 star from Eric Cloud. Like Ridley Scott, Verbinski cannot make a film that is not lush and stunningly beautiful. Sadly, like Scott, he seems not to apply the same level of detail to the script and story. Also, Dane DeHaan really creeps me out. Probably a super nice guy, but still creepy.
Fair. Love it. 3.5 stars from Warp. I guess this is the closest we got to a real BioShock movie.
Oh, speaking of, we are getting a BioShock movie.
Oh, shit. Well, then there you go. That's fucking topical. All right. What do you got?
A 0.5 star review from pro member Steve Austin Brown.
Oh.
It sure ain't Shutter Island, but it sure is terrible. And
Aww.
I'm going to add as a joke, because Stone Cold said so. Because it's Steve Austin.
I love it. This one's not going to be for you, but 3 stars from Stevie. Mia Goth and her bleached eyebrows are going to save the emo community. You just watch. All right, what do you got?
A 0.5 star review from Dingle Swab. And I am going to read this in the way that I read it in my head. Eels up inside you. Find an entrance where they can. Eels up inside you. Find an entrance where they can. Boring through your mind, through your tummy, through your anus. Eels.
That's the best fucking thing ever. So, since you were talking about, things going up your body, 0.5 star from Sun. It's just a sun emoji. Hollywood man. What if an eel crawls up her vagina? Hollywood producer. Here's a $40 million budget. All right, I got 2 more.
A 5 star and a heart from Queer Unicorn.
Okay.
Oh my.
That is a very fair response. Oh my. Another one that might not be for you, but it is for me. 3.5 stars from Tasso. Mia Goth is my cure for wellness, and I agree. Last one. Let's do this.
I'm going to read this person's name how I read it with the emojis. A 5 star and a heart from Lee. Okay, damn. I was like, wow, this movie is so pretty. I love the aesthetics and overall vibe. And then, bam, incest.
Happens when you least expect it, apparently. Even after it's been hyped up for about 2.5 hours. 3 stars from Killian Morales. This is what drinking 8 glasses of water a day gets you. Damn straight. Don't hydrate yourself. So that is A Cure for Wellness from 2016. If you enjoy the show, please rate and review on your favorite podcast app of choice. Follow us on all the social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Slasher, Blue Sky, Threads, and YouTube at Frightmares Podcast, or email us stayspooky@outlook.com. You can follow me personally on Letterboxd at Dr. Proctor. You are...
Frightmare's Cory.
Booyah! Be sure to follow our sister podcast, The Shameless Pictures Show, and also check out the Dead-Eyed Millennial podcast as well. Next week, Spencer and I are going to be doing It, technically Chapter 1 from 2017. So until then, stay tuned and
Stay spooky.